I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, let's talk about William Barr, Attorney General Barr, and his testimony to the Senate. I don't even know what to say about it other than when I see people like Kamala Harris, Macy Hirono, who else? Richard Blumenthal, Cory Booker, all these guys, and the way they act and the questions that they ask and the grandstanding and just like talking down to Barr and berating him. And it was just so unbecoming, so disgusting to see. I mean, it really makes you think that, you know, if these are the people that are governing the United States, then the U.S. is in serious, serious trouble. And two of these people are running for president, mind you. So keep that in mind. What did you make of the hearings?
I thought it was an absolutely terrible hearing. I mean, you're absolutely right in what you said about those people. I would actually go further. They came across to me as a bunch of spoiled and angry teenagers, furious because somebody had taken their sweet from them, and trying to sort of have a go at the adult, the only adult in the room, who was, of course, Barr. I mean, some of the Republicans spoke, I thought, quite well. But, I mean, Barr, I thought, handled all this nonsense absolutely excellently. But, I mean, putting aside the juvenile behavior of these people, I think the other thing that, you know, we really need to think about is frankly the very sinister behavior of Robert Mueller, because he wrote this absolutely extraordinary letter to Barr, who is supposed to be his boss. He then arranged, because let's be quite clear, it's Mueller who arranged it. Mueller then arranged for this letter to be leaked to the Democrats and to the media just before Barr was about to testify to the Senate. And I mean, that shows to me what a partisan figure Mueller ultimately is. Because if you drill through that letter, if you analyze it properly, it actually doesn't say anything. It sort of insinuates that Barr has done something wrong. It doesn't actually say what exactly Barr has done wrong. And in fact, I can say for a fact that Barr has done nothing wrong. But it was clearly timed to cause Barr embarrassment. And it frankly reminds me of the way that Mueller released his indictment against the 12 alleged GRU officers just before Donald Trump was supposed to meet with Putin in Helsinki. It's the same kind of spoiler being used all over again. And I think it is very sad, extremely sad, that an official like Mueller, who headed the FBI for many years and worked in the Justice Department, is behaving in this way.
Well, let's not forget that Mueller was also pushing for Iraq WMDs back when he was at the FBI. I mean, he's a scumbag. And I think what this whole incident shows, and you're exactly right, this whole incident shows that Robert Mueller is a deep state scumbag. And he was too coward. He was too much of a coward, Alex. And in my opinion, if Mueller was the man that he says he is, this messianic, this glorious, you know, savior of the Democrat Party and of the Republic of the United States, then if he was that man, why didn't he just pull the trigger on obstruction or collusion?
Well, you absolutely
and indict the president of the United States if he's such a big bad. He is an absolute sneaky little sniveling coward.
Well, I'm going to take a terrible admission here. When this whole thing started, I said to myself, well, you know, Mueller's been around a long time. He's a real professional. He knows his job. He's a very good prosecutor. So I actually welcomed his appointment. That was one of my biggest misjudgments that I have ever made since we started the Duran. I mean, it was a gross error of judgment because Mueller has behaved outrageously. Can I just stress again, he has spent 2 years investigating a collusion charge, a conspiracy charge. He must have known, and I'm not the only person who says this, Giuliani says it, DeGeneres says it, Andrew McCarthy says it, or fine lawyers, he must have known by the autumn of 2017, at the latest, that there was no conspiracy or collusion or coordination of any kind between Donald Trump and the Russians, or between Donald Trump's campaign and the Russians. He could have ended his investigation quite properly, quite validly, and delivered an entirely proper report back in the autumn of 2017, saving the United States the melodrama of the last year. Instead of doing that, he pressed on, invented this preposterous theory of obstruction, an obstruction supposedly carried out by an innocent man, Donald Trump, who knew he was innocent and who did absolutely nothing to obstruct the investigation, but on the contrary, was cooperating with it in the most extreme way, never preventing witnesses from speaking to Mueller, never invoking privilege in any form. And, having undertaken this extraordinary academic exercise on obstruction, in the end, he doesn't even say, well, there was obstruction or there wasn't obstruction. He leaves this thing in the air. Now, let's remember, James Comey got sacked. One of the reasons James Comey got sacked, according to Rod Rosenstein was supposed to be Mueller's boss, was because Comey went and gave a press conference in which he made critical comments about Hillary Clinton. Supposedly, an investigator is not supposed to do that. He can't establish a case. He's not supposed to say damaging things about the person who is the subject of the investigation. James Comey did that. Rosenstein said he should be sacked for it. Here we see Mueller doing all that all over again with Donald Trump. And here we see Mueller, again, doing everything he can to undermine his own boss, William Barr, the Attorney General of the United States, who has accurately summarized his conclusions in a letter by arranging and then publishing a letter of his own, which appears to criticize Barr, but actually, as I said, says nothing. I mean, it's the kind of letter that lawyers write when they're writing bullshit. It's an absolute bullshit letter.
Yeah, Mueller creates this letter.
Yeah.
And this letter triggers the Democrats. And in essence, what this letter is about is whining that Barr summarized Mueller's report in a way that Mueller may object to, say. Let's just use that word, objects to. While the full 400 plus page report is already out there. I mean, the whole thing is beyond stupid.
It's crackers. I mean, as far as I can make out, what he's not denying in his letter that Barr summarized the conclusions accurately. What he's saying is, well, it would have been better if instead of publishing such a letter, you'd publish bits of my report.
He's whining.
Which is, just nonsense. He's whining. It's absolute nonsense. I mean, it also disregards the fact, a fact which everybody seems to have overlooked, which is that Barr would have acted entirely within his rights if he'd published nothing at all. He was not required to publish Mueller's report.
With Trey Gowdy says that often.
Absolutely, all the time. Exactly. He wasn't required to publish Mueller's report. Yeah, Gowdy's absolutely right. He wasn't required even to provide a summary.
But Mueller, being the spook that he is, I'm sure he had that letter in his back pocket already prepared. Because I think the whole thing was just to trigger this whole, dog and pony show that we saw, yesterday. I mean, it was exactly. That's what the whole purpose of it was. So, I mean, it shows that Mueller is actually in collusion with the Democrats and with the stenographers, the mainstream media stenographers for the Democrat Party. It shows that they're all one and the same. They're all the same,
Absolutely.
scumbags, all these guys.
Indeed so. And can I just say something else, which is it confirms a suspicion which I have long had. Now, throughout the Mueller investigation, we've been hearing this myth being propagated that it was a leak-proof investigation, that there were no leaks of any kind going on. I think what's actually happened, this is my theory, but I think these recent events all but confirm it, is that Mueller was repeatedly giving steers to the media about what he was looking at, because if you actually look at the report and compare the stories that the media was running, there's almost an exact synergy between the two. I mean, they were talking about one thing, and it turns out that Mueller was actually investigating at about that time that very thing. So it looks to me as if he was talking to the media all the time, but that there was an agreement reached to preserve this myth of total leak-proof investigation, that they wouldn't actually say that they were basing their information on leaks. So that was what was going on. He was manipulating the media, and he was manipulating the Democrats. And this letter, which he has published, which is total bullshit. Total bullshit. It says, your summary of my conclusions is accurate, but, it still led to some misunderstandings in the media. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean? I mean, that in itself is incredibly manipulative, and he comes across to me as a very manipulative man.
Yeah, because he's not honorable in that, what you said before, that if he was an honorable man, then you were right. He would have stopped the investigation when he found no collusion, which was obvious. And he would have done the honorable thing for the love of his country so that he doesn't tear his country apart, and he would have stopped the investigation. No collusion. Guys, that's what I was looking for. It's over. Done. Yes. Instead, he carried it on for another year, ruined a lot of people's lives, a lot of innocent people, not only Donald Trump. We've talked about these people over and over in many shows, from Carter Page to Roger Stone to Michael, all these guys.
Yes.
He ruined a lot of people's lives. Also, he could, keep this hoax going. So doesn't this whole charade, what we saw yesterday, and we saw the questions from Booker and Macy Hirono and all these ridiculous, dumb questions, hurled at Barr.
I'm glad you called them dumb, because that's exactly
dumb, just really dumb. I mean, Macy Hirono was calling him a liar before he even had a chance to speak. That's how she opened up her questioning, by calling him a liar.
Exactly.
So I mean, doesn't this show, Alexander, that Mueller, at the end of the day, from the beginning of the investigation all the way till today, it shows that Mueller was working with the Democrats and working with the mainstream media. They were all colluding for 2-3 years, all of them. I mean, the curtain's been pulled. The masks are off. All these guys were working together to propagate this Russia hoax. That's what I saw. All of them,
Absolutely.
From Kamala Harris to Cory Booker to Macy Hirono to Mueller to MSNBC to CNN, all the same scumbags working to undermine the U.S. democracy. That's what I saw.
Absolutely. I think that is unarguable, actually. I think it's absolutely unarguable. Can I actually make an observation about Donald Trump, his campaign, and his administration? Given this kind of relentless inquisition that Mueller has engaged in with the support of the media and with the support of the Democrats, it is astonishing that he has failed to come up with anything. I'm not talking here about collusion or conspiracy or anything like that, but he hasn't laid a finger on Donald Trump. There have been suggestions that Donald Trump is corrupt, that he's done sleazy business deals, that he's evaded taxes, that he's done all kinds of things. And Mueller said nothing about this, even though we know for a fact that he's looked into everything. He's looked into Donald Trump's tax returns as well. So this extraordinary witch hunt. Donald Trump is right to call it a witch hunt. It's worse than that. Inquisition is, I think, more like what it should be called. Has come up with nothing. And that is what is making the Democrats and Mueller himself so angry.
And now I think they're going through this exercise as well because, they're saying, let's impeach Barr, let's impeach Barr. They're scared now because they know Barr is now going to go on the attack. He's going to start investigating them.
Indeed, he is. That's the other thing. I mean, the other side of this is that, Barr acted, I thought, with extraordinary calm and patience. But, he just didn't give an inch in this ridiculous farce of a hearing. He just batted back all their questions without almost effortlessly. And I think one of the things that make them very, very angry about Barr is that he's not afraid of them. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows he's absolutely right. He knows he has the backing of the Republicans at the Senate. He knows he has the backing of the Justice Department. And I think he will do what he has always said he will do. He will see this thing through. He will find out what was really going on within the Justice Department and within the FBI and probably within the rest of the intelligence community, including with the CIA, and bring out the story to the open. When people behave as angrily as the Democrats did during this hearing, it is a sign that they are scared.
Yeah, I agree. It's a sign that they're scared. Can we get to one of the lines of questioning that I thought was interesting? And a lot of the Democrats and CNN's, MSNBCs, they're jumping on it. And it was from Kamala Harris. And I thought that exchange was really interesting because Kamala Harris, she put on her best, her best show for the cameras. And it was obvious. No doubt about it. And she was kind of, peppering Barr with questions, trying to act very tough and peppering him with questions as to, you did not see the underlying evidence. You did not review Mueller's underlying evidence. And I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I sat to myself saying, this was a two-year investigation, $30 million plus spent. They probably have tens of thousands of documents and interviews, God knows how much. And you're asking him if he reviewed all the underlying, if you're a boss and this guy comes and he gives you, what he found, you're going to say, okay, this is what you found. Now I'm going to make a judgment and see what's going on. I thought that line of questioning was really strange.
Well, it's bonkers. The fact of the matter is,
but they're saying right now he should be impeached because Barr didn't take the time to look at all the underlying evidence. He took Mueller's word at face value, which I say, okay, if Mueller is this, this savior, well, yeah. If he's this honorable guy, Barr took it at face value.
Well, why bother with a Mueller report in that case? Why have Mueller? Why have Mueller carry out a report at all? Why shouldn't just Mueller hand over all the evidence to Barr and ask Barr to write the report? That's not just absurd. It is beyond silly.
And Harris is a prosecutor, supposedly.
Well, indeed. But the whole point of having Mueller write a report is to make it possible for Barr to move forward without having to waste his time looking at all the underlying evidence. Yeah. I'm going to add something else, by the way. As I understand it, and I think there was an article about this in the Wall Street Journal, Barr has now provided or made available to Congress all of the, most of the redacted parts of the Mueller report. And surprise, surprise, only 3 people have looked at it, and they're all Republicans. So the Democrats, who are so angry about all this evidence that hasn't been provided, who are so angry about all these actually fairly minimal redactions, don't really seem to be very interested in it.
8% was redacted or something.
Something like that. Absolutely nothing. There was nothing there that was of any real significance. And as I said, if we're talking about the obstruction part of it, barely anything there was redacted at all. As I said, I've read this thing from start to finish, and I can say that for an absolute fact.
So just to summarize this video rant that we've been having on these proceedings that took place, How would you sum it all up at the end of the day? The show that we saw in the Senate.
Well, I mean, our great writer William Shakespeare has this wonderful line, a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And that is, I think, what we got from the Democrats over the course of this hearing. A tale full of sound and fury, and making all sorts of ridiculous, in fact, absurd allegations. I mean, you mentioned that Barr was called a liar. I mean, what lie has he told? Show me the lie that Barr has actually told.
I didn't understand that question from her.
Exactly. I mean, truly, a tale told by an idiot.
How do these stupid people get into government?
That
I think was what shocked me.
Well, indeed, that's a good question, which I think the American people need to ask themselves. I mean, because they are supposedly electing these people. We're now, dare I say, moving slowly towards another election cycle. And it's time people in the United States started to think about that. I mean, Donald Trump is repeatedly called an idiot, a fool, a narcissist, all kinds of things. Well, whether Donald Trump is any of those things, just look at what happened in the Senate. Plenty of exhibitions of idiocy, narcissism, and all the rest there on display. Far more than I've ever seen, indeed, from Trump, if I have to be frank about it.
Yeah, I don't know who's more dumb. Is these senators, that the people that I saw yesterday, these questions they were giving Barr, or the mainstream media that props them up and backs them up. I mean,
absolutely,
it was just a shit show.
It was just an absurdity. I mean, it was just absolute nonsense. I mean, it was complete nonsense. I mean, I'm almost lost for words to describe what it was. The only thing I'm going to say is I don't think the American people, even many Democrats, actually, many people who vote Democrats, are going to be very impressed by any of this, because as far as they're concerned, the fact remains, we've had 3 years of investigations. We had endless speculations, rumors, talk about, collusion, conspiracy, coordination between Donald Trump and the Russians. And surprise, surprise, what came up? Nothing. And that's the one fact the Democrats and the media just can't get away from.
I hope that Barr does not forget what happened to him
yesterday,
and I hope he goes after them.
Yeah.
Really, really. I hope he goes after the Democrats with everything he's got.
Well, can I just say, I come back to the point I made before. When people get very angry, it's because they're frightened. William Barr is a very experienced lawyer. He's been Attorney General of the United States before. He's worked in the Justice Department. He knows that as well as me. He knows it much better than me. So he will probably see all this bizarre behavior and he'll say to himself, these people are hiding something. I put myself through a ridiculous affair. I'm going to see this thing through.
I agree with you on that. And we'll end it there. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on that subscribe button down below. Click on that notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. And visit the Duran shop. Buy a t-shirt. Help support the Duran. In the description box, you will find links to our PayPal and Patreon. Please donate to us. It really helps us out a lot. And you can follow us on Instagram, the Duran_com, and make sure you get notifications by downloading the Blank Chat app. The links are in the description box down below as well. And of course, you can visit our new site at theduran.com. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you once again. Until next time, everybody, take care.